Well, Broncos country, a mile high salute to all of you guys. We are almost 48 hours away from the Broncos taking on the Chiefs in Kansas City, the vaunted, the hated Chiefs, the Chiefs that have been the biggest thorn in the side of Broncos country fans for God knows how long. And I'm sick of them, and I hate the fact that we're playing them 8-0, but I'm optimistic that the Broncos are going to be the team that gives him the first loss of the season, and I'll tell you why. We'll break it down for you guys. Before we do, welcome to the channel, everybody. If it's your first time, I appreciate you. Hit that subscribe button, like the video for the algorithm. I really appreciate it. I am on a mission to get to 500. I'm enjoying the community that we're building here, and I would love it if you join the ride. We talk Broncos, we talk Nuggets, we talk Avs. We talk it all here at Denver Sports. And I hope you all are staying nice and safe and warm in this crazy blizzard because the weather outside is wild. All right, guys, let's get into it. The Broncos are set to travel to Kansas City. We are starting the gauntlet of the schedule. We talked about that. We're 0-1 so far after getting blown out by the Ravens last week, but I'm optimistic, and I'll tell you why. I feel like the Broncos, even in those years where the Chiefs were the best team in the NFL and the Broncos were among the worst, we've always played them really well. And it could be that maybe they take their foot off the gas, but I feel like we really find a way to play well against the Chiefs. And it's very common in the NFL that divisional opponents just play each other well, right? The Browns beat the Ravens. Yesterday, the Ravens and the Bengals go back and forth. You see a lot of situations where you have a really good team play a very bad team in their division. It's still very competitive. It's still very close. And, them being familiar with each other is helpful. The Broncos have always been that team that plays really well against the Chiefs. And if you look at Patrick Mahomes' career stats, right? His career passer rating is 102.5, and his career touchdown to interception ratio is 3.3 to 1, essentially. So it's over 3 to 1. Completion percentage is north of 66%. Against the Broncos, his completion percentage is right around where his career average is, right? Now, this is in 13 games. He's 12-1 in those games, which is crazy. But but his passer rating is actually about 10 points lower against the Broncos than it is for his career. And his touchdown to interception ratio is actually less than 2 to 1. It's about 1.8 to 1. So he does show the propensity of turning the ball over and not being as good against the Broncos. And this is against the Broncos with multiple defensive coordinators, multiple defensive schemes. Um, and then, specifically last year against Vance Joseph and this defense, he was 1-1, but he had one touchdown, one interception. His quarterback rating was about 80 versus his career of 102. So he does struggle more against the Broncos than he does against other opponents in general in the NFL. I'm not going to say others in total, but others in general. But in the 13 games against the Broncos, like I said, he's got 19 touchdowns and 11 picks. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily win this week, but it means that based off of the data and historically, the Broncos defense should give us a chance. They should be able to limit the Chiefs in a way where the offense doesn't necessarily need to score, 30 points to win the game. But I do expect for this game to be a tight game in the fourth quarter. It's going to be a really good test for a young team against, back-to-back Super Bowl champions to say, okay, if it's a tight game come fourth quarter, can this team wrap the game up? Can they win it? And how can they do it? Well, we talked a lot yesterday about Bo Nix and what the keys for him are going to be, right? It's going to be not turning the football over. It's going to be not taking unnecessary stupid sacks. But most importantly, I think in my opinion, well, turnover is most important, but another thing that's almost equally as important is he needs to be able to get first downs and keep drives alive with his legs. I think he's done a great job many times this year, and he needs to not be shy away from going out there and putting his legs to work. He's got 27 first downs rushing the ball this year. Bo Nix does, and he's got 4 rushing touchdowns. That's huge, and I really expect for that to be the key in this game. I think the game plan that the defense had last week against the Ravens is actually one that'll work really well against the Chiefs this week, because it'll allow for the Broncos secondary to be able to lock up. I like their chances against these particular receivers and tight ends more than last year, um, and I like that. I think that we'll be able to get more pressure against Patrick Mahomes this week because last week the Ravens used a ton of two tight ends. They were in 21 personnel, 22 personnel, a lot of the game to be able to pick up a lot of the blitzes. The Chiefs don't necessarily do that a lot, and so us getting pressure on Mahomes is gonna be crucial, and I think it's something that we can have happen. Uh, I do believe that this Broncos defense is gonna come into play. They're gonna feel like there's gonna be a little bit of a revenge game. Um, being 8-point dogs again, I think it's gonna be something that this team is really gonna be fired up to do. The weather looks like it's gonna be decent in Kansas City. And like I said, I think that the Buccaneers showed where some of the weaknesses in this Kansas City Chiefs defense could be. It's a really, really good defense. But, what Baker Mayfield did with not having Chris Godwin and not having Mike Evans, I think can be replicated. Kate Allen had a huge game. Do we have a tight end that can do that? You would say no, but we're going to need somebody to really step up. And the major key is getting that run game going. And it will start with Bo Nix, being able to prove that he can complete passes against his defense, but also him utilizing his legs can open up run lanes for the Broncos running backs as well. That's going to be a huge key controlling the time of possession in this game and winning the turnover battle. The Broncos are, if you look at the last 4 seasons, they're almost guaranteed to win when they win the turnover ratio, regardless of opponent. So that's going to be a huge point of emphasis for us as well. I'm feeling really optimistic about this game. I really don't know why. Uh, I'm not usually somebody that's like, "Oh, I'm a Bronco fan. I'm always optimistic about my team." Like I did, predict them to lose against the Ravens last week. But I just feel good about this game. I'm not sure why. Maybe I could be completely wrong. And I'm curious what it is that you guys think. Um, but the reason I think that they could be had is because first of all, the Broncos just play well against this team. Secondly, them being 8-0, they're due for a loss, and that doesn't necessarily give you any kind of like backstory, like, oh, they're undefeated, so that's why they're going to lose. But I feel like they're a team that has won a lot of games where maybe they weren't the best team, and they didn't necessarily deserve to win, quote unquote. I hate to say that because I think teams when they win, they always deserve it. But they've been in a lot of tight games. I think that there's a lot of teams that have exposed different types of weaknesses, and I like the idea of how the Broncos can move the ball against their defense. And I think on the offensive side of the ball for them, we have in the past found ways to be able to limit Travis Kelsey. They have a new weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. I think he can be eliminated completely by Patrick Surtain. So it's going to force other guys like Xavier Worthy to beat the Broncos. Now he is somebody that we're going to have to definitely watch and keep an eye on. But I'm excited to see how that works. Maybe we even put Riley Moss on DeAndre Hopkins with a safety over the top, and we try to eliminate Travis Kelsey out of the game in certain packages at least with somebody like Riley Moss. Or sorry, brain fart. So Travis Kelsey can be covered by Patrick Surtain in some situations, specifically on third down. Um, Kareem Hunt for them has been a really, really good find. He's been very productive and very solid for them. So we need to ensure that we completely eliminate that as much as we can out of the equation. Another big test that this Broncos team is going to have to withstand and go through is we all know there's going to be moments in the game where the Chiefs just get the calls, right? They either don't get penalties that should have been penalties called against them, or they'll call the Broncos on some really kind of back and forth stuff. It's just something that happens. We can complain about it, that's fine, but the players are gonna have to be able to just fight through that, say it is what it is, move on to the next play, and stay focused. Patrick Mahomes is also somebody that we know can kill you in a lot of different ways, and one of those is his ability to scramble and run, and when you think the play's dead, it's not. They need to play through the whistle, but I think a lot of these players know that, which is why they typically tend to play better against Mahomes than most other teams do, because they understand the fact that the play is never dead with this guy, ever. Um, and they might be able to, get him, uh, be able to get turnovers and force him into some mistakes overall. So we'll see. This is one of those games where I wish we had Justin Simmons because Justin Simmons always seemed like he's that guy that picks Patrick Mahomes off. It's funny he goes to Atlanta, and in the first game Patrick Mahomes plays against Atlanta this year, little did you know, boom, picked off by Justin Simmons. So who's going to be able to step up? Who's going to make the plays? It looks like we're going to have PJ Lock back this week, which I think is huge, very very huge. I really want him for this game. I think Devin Key is somebody that really struggled on the back end a lot. So I like the fact that we're getting PJ Lock back, and it's going to be a hell of a team effort. I am very much looking forward to it. I would love nothing more. It would make the season so amazing for me if Bo Nix and the Broncos can go into Arrowhead and get a win and stop the winning streak and the undefeated team, make them no more. So, what do you guys think, Broncos country? How we feeling? Am I a little bit too optimistic? Maybe I am, right? Maybe I am. I don't feel like I am, but maybe I am. But let me know in the comments below how y'all feeling about this, and let's get that W, baby. Go Broncos. Stay safe, everybody. And until next time, peace out.